Greetings, Sky Watchers, and happy St. Patrick's Day. March started with an early morning total lunar eclipse. It was raining at my house, so no blood moon for me. A real LA company, Reflect Orbital, is preparing for next month's launch of its Arendelle 1 satellite, a huge mirror that will travel in Sun's synchronous low Earth orbit and attempt to reflect sunlight onto a part of the Earth that is currently experiencing night. And Artemis 2 has once again yet to launch. However, adjustments have been made to the Artemis timeline to hopefully still get humans back to the surface of the moon by 2028. Fingers crossed. I'm Science Ben. Let's transport outside and discover the rest of what March's sky has to offer. It's a few minutes past noon. Facing south, we discover our star, the Sun, making its daily trek across an increasingly higher trajectory that will continue to climb until it peaks in June as we welcome summer and the whole cycle starts over again. The northern hemisphere welcomes spring this Friday when the Sun reaches halfway point. Today, the Sun will set in the west at 7:27 p.m. For a very brief period following that, low in the sky can be found Venus before it disappears, revealing a circle of bright lights in about the center of the sky. These 6 will be especially bright given the night's lunar absence. Tomorrow, we get a brand new moon. These stars have names, each belonging to its own pattern. To help with identification, begin with the 3 lined up lights forming Orion's belt. Next, look over the Hunter's shoulder for 3 lights forming a triangle. The top 2 belong to Gemini the twins, and the bottom will be bright Jupiter. The highest of the 2 top stars is Pollux. Follow it down to Procyon and Canis Minor, followed by Sirius and Canis Major, the big and little dogs, before reaching Orion's ankle, Rigel, Taurus the bull's fiery eye, Aldebaran, and completing the shape is Capella, the brightest star, and Auriga, the charioteer. These 6 patterns are official constellations recognized by the IAU, whereas the circle made of their brightest stars is an unofficial asterism commonly called the Winter Circle. Just to the east of the circle shines Regulus, the brightest star in the official constellation Leo the Lion. Regulus also belongs to the Chinese astrological pattern Xuanyan, or the Yellow Emperor. The stars of this pattern are said to represent the girlfriends of the Emperor, with Regulus representing his favorite, his wife, the Queen. Queen, women, March. NASA recently shared further renderings of its next great space telescope, the Roman Space Telescope, named for the agency's first Chief of Astronomy, the late Nancy Grace Roman. Known as the Mother of Hubble, Roman was the first woman ever to hold an executive position with the agency, a position she held for 20 years. She developed an interest in space discovery at a young age, forming a weekly astronomy club for her classmates when she was 11 years old. She faced opposition from the start.
I was told from the beginning that women could not be scientists. In high school, one of the experiences I remember is I asked my guidance counselor for permission to take a 2nd year of algebra instead of a 5th year of Latin. And she looked down her nose at me and sneered, "What lady would take mathematics instead of Latin?"
Unpersuaded, Roman continued her studies, receiving her PhD in astronomy in 1949 from the University of Chicago before becoming a research associate at Yerkes Observatory. There, her research in stellar spectroscopy was so diligent that in 1950, she had 3 of the top 100 ranked most important papers of the year, a year that saw over 3,000 total publications.
My thesis professor was one I often didn't get the support that I'd expected. There was a period in which he went for 6 months without speaking to me, even when I said hello to him in the hall. He didn't want to have anything to do with me.
Nancy Roman was offered research positions at several universities, but declined, saying she felt the institutions lacked sufficient astronomical instrumentation to meet her needs. In 1954, she entered the radio astronomy program at the United States Naval Research Laboratory, where she had access to what was then the largest accurate radio telescope in existence. Within 3 years, she became the head of microwave spectroscopy. While with the research laboratory, she mapped much of the Milky Way at a frequency of 440 megahertz and pioneered the use of radio astronomy and geodetic work, including a method of using radar to better calculate the distance from the Earth to the Moon. While attending a lecture by Nobel Prize-winning NASA scientist Harold Urey, Roman was approached by another NASA staff member who asked her input on creating a space astronomy department for the agency. She applied and became the first chief of astronomy. During her time with NASA, Roman worked with the Orbiting Solar Observatory, supported the Goddard Space Flight Center, and developed policy that NASA scientific research should be driven by the needs of the broader astronomical community. She visited astronomy departments throughout the country to tell them what we were planning at NASA and what the NASA opportunities were, but it was equally to try to get from them a feeling of what they thought NASA ought to be doing. In 1959, she proposed that detecting planets around other stars might be possible with the aid of a space-based telescope. She was the first person to suggest such a thing. Roman presented an observation technique that would go on to image the exoplanet Fomalhaut B, a technique that's still used today. In 1960, she became the championing voice for the development and funding of what was then called the Large Space Telescope, and would go on to be named the Hubble Space Telescope. NASA's newest space telescope is anticipating to launch by May of next year. It's named for Nancy Grace Roman. The Roman Space Telescope will have a field of view 100 times greater than that of Hubble. The RST will be able to block starlight to directly see exoplanets and planet-forming disks. It will complete a census of planetary systems in our own galaxy, and it will deeply explore dark energy and dark matter. We look forward to continuing discussions about stellar discovery tools and the people that love them. Join us next month as we discover April's sky and what happens with Artemis II between now and then. We'll see you the second Tuesday of April, April the 14th. Thanks for watching and keep discovering.